What's going on, guys? It's Nick here, back with another video. It's Monday, it's time, and it's time for the Mock Draft Monday. We're going to full PPR this week, sticking with snake drafts, obviously. We're going to go to 10. We've done a bunch of 12-team drafts. We're going to go to a 10-team draft this time. Ideally, not something like at either one of the polls. 7 works. We've been doing early, been doing late. Let's try this with the 7th pick. And we're going to take off the second flex spot. So 2 running back, 2 wide receiver, 1 tight end, 1 flex, defense, no kicker, and 6 bench. A general setup. We'll try and walk through a 10-team league. As I've said a million times in previous years, as you start to reduce from 12 teams to 10 teams to 8 teams, it just makes it a little bit more valuable attacking early at quarterback and tight end. Everyone has a little bit of a better team in 10-team leagues than everyone has a great team in an 8-team league. And so the benefit of having, the true ceiling performances of a Bowers, of a Trey McBride is just more valuable because we know that's kind of the top 2 tight ends this season. We pull up tight end right here. You got Bowers and McBride at the top. You've got a mini tier down to George Kittle, another tier break kind of down into Laporta and Hawkinson, another break into, Jonnu, Ingram, Kelsey, and Njoku, and then you kind of have just this whole range after that, right? A lot of these teams in a 10-team league going to be good, but only 2 teams are going to have Bowers and McBride at the top. At quarterback, a little bit less this season. Of course, we've got, Allen, Lamar, Daniels, Hurts. You could even throw Burrow into that top tier as well. You've got that, but it's not like it's an insane drop-off into Mayfield, Mahomes, Knicks, Kyler, and you have a ton of options. So if you were only going to pick one, only early quarterback, only early tight end, you were locking it in, which we never do in a draft anyways, but ideally, I guess it would be tight end would be a little bit more valuable. But again, never walk into a draft with a certain strategy. If it ends up that, Burrow is the best value for us a quarterback, we'll go with him, right? We're not just going to say, oh, got to take tight end early, got to not take quarterback early. So let's see what's happened so far. So with 7th pick, wide receiver heavy, Chase, then Barkley, Bijan, and then Jefferson, Amon-Ra St. Brown, and CeeDee Lamb. So we are here at the 107. We will pull up all the players. We will hide the drafted players, and we'll talk this through. You're not going round 1 quarterback. You're not going round 1 tight end. So you only have options at wide receiver and running back. Gibbs is the very clear top running back. You wouldn't even really think about that. I think it's Gibbs and then Genty, even in full PPR. But Gibbs, in all formats, should be the running back 3. So no discussion further needed at running back. I'll be curious to see who we would get at the next one. Because how many picks are there? There will be 6 picks to go by. So we will draft at 107, and then 204. We'll have 6 picks to go by after that. Important for us for this decision. At wide receiver, I love Puka. I love Neighbors, Nico, Brian Thomas Jr. There is a tier break. I still love some of these wide receivers going after this, but the tier break after that. A little bit unfortunate for us, so I was kind of trying to star, hopefully seeing 7 players we'd really like, and realistically, I would be totally fine getting Genty as well at the next pick. That would be amazing. And honestly, I would say McCaffrey and Achane would be great as well. That gives us 8 players, so not too bad. We're going to get 2 of these players. I think that's a relatively clear kind of top 14 off the board. Then after that, you'd be looking at the tight ends. I don't think we would take a tight end with our next pick, but we certainly could. We'd look at the value, but probably wouldn't. So what do we want to do? Odds are it's running back. I can look at what their ADP is. Odds are running back is what's going to be available at our next pick. So by their ADP, Gibbs will definitely not be available, but relatively decent chance that Achane, Genty, McCaffrey, one of them is going to be there. So we have an option here. We can assume we're double dipping at running back by taking Gibbs, who's clearly the top player on the board. I have him at 104. We're at the 107. The next player I have is Neighbors. So our decision is coming down to Gibbs or Neighbors. If we take Gibbs, we're kind of assuming we're going to double dip at running back. The likelihood is these 3 wide receivers are going to be gone. I think that's kind of just worth the risk. It's totally fine to double dip at running back. This is a season where I think I might lean a little bit more towards getting wide receiver early on than in previous years. But when you have an opportunity for Gibbs in a full PPR format, you just kind of take it. So we'll take Gibbs and we'll see what happens after that. but exactly what we thought would happen happens after that. Puka, Neighbors, Collins, Brian Thomas Jr., and A.J. Brown all off the board, and then Devon Achane goes as well. So we have the opportunity. If we want to take one of these tight ends, we can. Bowers or Trey McBride. Top wide receiver would be Drake London, and then top running back is going to be Ashton Jeanty. Personally, I think you would just go Jeanty here. You say, okay, I'm going to take my running back 3 and my running back 4. I don't even care if there's fewer teams. The potential value here of having 2 running backs that could both have 60 receptions, having 2 running backs that could have, these could be the number 1, number 2 running back. I feel like people are a little bit off of Jeanty. Maybe just a lot of people who haven't seen him play are like, oh, can you really take, a rookie running back this early? Please keep in mind that he is going to be everything in this ground game. He's going to be featured in the red zone. He will have a ton of receptions. He's not going to come off the field. He is an unbelievable talent. He's going to get 1 million touches. It's so unbelievably safe in taking him. To pair him with Gibbs, the upside we're creating at running back is there. Now, we've done this before, and we've gotten into these kind of middle rounds and said, okay, but I like the running back value here as well, because you keep scrolling down. There's a lot of really good running backs this season. So I'll be interested to see kind of what our take is moving on. Again, I like taking wide receiver a little bit earlier this season because that tends to happen, but I'm not passing on the value of taking Gibbs and Jeanty as 2 running backs here. I'm just not going to do it. So we do that. After we go, wide receivers off the board are London, JSN, Garrett Wilson, Ladd, T. Higgins, and DJ Moore. Running backs off the board are Bucky, McCaffrey, Josh Jacobs, and Derrick Henry, and then both Bowers and McBride go. Again, could have gone with one of them at this spot. I think 204 is probably where they should be value-wise, but I would have needed, I don't know. I would have needed maybe Jeanty to have been gone and had A.J. Brown as the pick. Maybe even Achane out there. I don't know. I just don't think this is like at earliest where you should probably be taking them, and it's not ideal to take players at earliest where they should go. So I'm good with this start. Let's see what's available to us. So we're not going to go to the third tight end here. Third tight end, Kittle, I have at 504. We're at 307. We're not going to be doing that. All quarterbacks are still on the board. So I have at 301 in a full PPR format. That's where you should start being able to attack that first tier of quarterback. So all are available. Allen, Lamar, Hurts, Daniels, Burrow. Thing is, probably not all going to get taken. It's incredibly unlikely that these 3 teams take 5 quarterbacks, right? So like we know with 100% certainty one of them is going to be there. We know with pretty high certainty that one of the top end guys is going to be there. So it wouldn't make a ton of sense for us to be the first team to take a quarterback at this spot. So star him, but we're not going to take him. We're not going to take tight end. At running back, there's still very, very good values here. I have the top running back as Jonathan Taylor, 211. I mean, being able to get JT even in a full PPR format, this is someone who can have, 300 plus touches, 325 plus touches this season. At wide receiver, looks like the top player available is Rice, a little bit down by their ADP, then Tyreek Hill. So we would definitely play ADP game there and take Tyreek Hill between the 2 of them. I have Tyreek at 304, so we're still looking at pretty strong value at this spot. Talked about Tyreek in the Saturday video. That was hot takes. I think Tyreek's going to stay in Miami, but even if you don't think that's going to be the case, if he ever gets traded away, it's going to a contender, a good weather team, a good quarterback. Like it's going to go to a spot where he wants to go to that'll heavily utilize him. So there's not a ton of risk in taking him there. I don't know. I think it was more the wrist last season, the torn ligament in the wrist. I think that's really why production was down. So I would say your decision here is not the quarterback. It's between Jonathan Taylor and Tyreek Hill. I'm probably going to end up taking Tyreek Hill because I think that's the correct move. But I'm super curious how our team would turn out if we had taken Jonathan Taylor and you could have Gibbs, Jeanty, Taylor, and then basically be like, I'm not touching running back for a while. I just don't think it's worth doing that. So I think you take Tyreek Hill and you suck it up and you say, it's okay. I'm not getting insane trio of running backs, which, yeah, these running backs are going to go off the board. But I think the value there, you got to take Tyreek Hill at that spot. So Gibbs, Jeanty, Tyreek Hill. Allen goes. Lamar Jackson goes. And then 4 running backs go. Kyron, JT, Chase Brown, and Breece Hall. Interesting. So no wide receivers come off the board. So we're in another spot where we can take a pretty good wide receiver at this pick. We have broken off into a new tier of running backs. So now, if I were to look at the running backs, my top running back is Alvin Kamara at 310. So still a good value. But it's Kamara, it's Cook. Not as strong of a value, and it would need to be a sick value for us to take it at this spot. Quarterbacks, I have Jaden Daniels 305. So we're looking good if we want to take Jaden Daniels. Kittle, again, we're still not going there, and we're not going to go running back. So it's either Jaden Daniels or we take Rashee Rice. I have them back-to-back in the rankings. Value-wise, it's almost identical. My gut says Daniels will be gone for sure. Do we think Burrow would be there at the next pick? Looking at 48 by his ADP at that spot, it'd be close. I feel like if you're trying to build a really good team, you would take Rashee Rice here. You'd cross your fingers that one of Jalen Hurts or Joe Burrow is there at the next pick. If not, it's okay. But getting those guys at 507 would be really, really strong value. I've mentioned a few times just wide receiver this season, it's thinner than it seems. Like when you look at the wide receivers, oh, there's so many great wide receivers. I don't know. The top end is obviously awesome. All of the round 1, round 2, even round 3 wide receivers, they're all looking really, really good. But as you start to exit round 4, exit round 5, there starts to be a lot more question marks with some of the wide receivers in a way that, I don't know, maybe we just haven't seen in some recent years. There were just so many great picks last year. You had Godwin, you had Neighbors, just locked and loaded picks in the middle rounds. I don't think there's any just locked and loaded, 5th, 6th, 7th round wide receivers this season. I think there's really good ones that I like to attack, but not in the way where last season it was so obvious that some of them were smashes where you had to just go running back early, wide receiver middle. It just made too much sense. It's almost the reverse this season, but again, I say that, and if you're going to get Gibbs and Gent, you're just going to do it every time. So long way of saying, I kind of want to lock up a wide receiver before they all go away and take the risk that maybe a quarterback is there at our next pick. So we'll take Rashee Rice. Again, he is the top wide receiver in the rankings. After we go, only 4 wide receivers go: Adams, Evans, McLaurin, and Marv. We've got 5 running backs: Mixon, James Cook, Kamara, Ken Walker, and Marty Hampton. Just missed out on Kittle. I'd actually mentioned it was 507, right? Exactly where I had Kittle ranked. 504. He goes at 506 right before us at 507. And then we've got Jalen Hurts. We've got Jaden Daniels off the board. That does mean that Burrow's there. We're at 507. I have Burrow at 406. So we're getting really strong value with him. So we can remain started with him. We're not going to take one of these tight ends. Running back, I like some of the options available, obviously, but at this point of the draft, it's not value that I really want to be attacking right now. Harvey would actually be my top, but we can kind of wait on him. And then wide receiver, I feel like Flowers is probably my top on the board. Let's see. Unless Tet is gone. I feel like, oh no, Tet, oh my gosh. Tet's way down here. So that should be something we obviously look at. Looks like Metcalf. Metcalf would be an option. I just think it's Burrow. I think because he's the last player in this kind of top tier, and you could argue that it's more of a 4-person tier with Burrow and a mini tier of his own, but the upside that Burrow has is obviously insane. Bad defense, explosive offense, fully healthy right now. I think you just take Burrow. I think that's just the sharpest play there. So we take Burrow. After us, 2 tight ends go, Hawkinson and Laporta. We see Flowers, Olave, and Godwin go, and then we see Chuba Hubbard off the board. I think this one's also relatively easy. You would just take your top wide receiver. Devonta Smith is actually a top wide receiver, and that's another one. I feel like I need to make one of the breakdown videos of this general range. Devonta Smith, DK Metcalf, and then I don't know, would I throw Worthy in there? You can also throw Tet in there. I mean, obviously for right now, you wouldn't be taking Tet, but I need a third player to kind of break down there. I think Devonta Smith's been undervalued this offseason. It seems like in most areas he's going relatively late. I also think DK Metcalf's being undervalued as well, but especially on Underdog, Devonta Smith is going really, really late. And I understand that like ceiling wise, it hasn't necessarily been there. And you're waiting on a AJ Brown injury to actually capitalize on the ceiling, like the true 95th percentile ceiling for Devonta Smith. But you know what that offense is, right? Like you know he's going to be solid. You know that he's a great wide receiver. You know he's easily the second best target on that team. Maybe they have a few more games this season where it's actually competitive and not just absolutely steamrolling teams. But like you know he's going to be pretty good. There's not that many unknowns with him, and he does carry that upside where if there's an injury and he's number one wide receiver, he's all of a sudden a top 7 wide receiver every week. I think in this range, how much certainty is actually left? I think Sutton's also kind of a relatively certain one, but lacks any sort of real ceiling because like with Devonta Smith, you have an injury and he shoots to the moon. There's no world where Courtland Sutton shoots to the moon. If anything, there's risk that they use the running backs more, that Evan Ingram goes in there and is really featured in this offense. Like there's risk that he sees 2 fewer targets per game. There's no chance that he sees 2 more targets per game, whereas Devonta Smith actually could. So I would much rather lean the ceiling with Devonta Smith there and the ceiling with DK Metcalf. But you start going further, it's like Waddle, I see ceiling there as well, but a lot more question marks with him. Judy, a ton of question marks with that offense. They're projected to be the lowest scoring offense in the league this season. That's not amazing. Worthy, how does Rice impact things? And I probably don't want to draft Worthy and Rice. It's totally fine to do, but I don't think I want to draft it. And this one, Addison, similar as Devonta Smith, but also has JJ McCarthy at quarterback, so we don't 100% know there. It's like you start going through, and there are question marks with all these guys. Devonta Smith, not really. He's just going to be good. He's going to have a solid season. Okay, let's take him. Pull up the board. Again, reminder on the team. We went with the double running back early, but we haven't touched running back since then. Gibbs and Genty. And I'll pull up this over here so you guys can kind of see that. Gibbs, Genty. We've got Tyreek Hill, Rashee Rice, and Devonta Smith at wide receiver and flex, 2 wide receivers in the flex spot. And then we've got Burrow at quarterback. I like how this build is working itself in. I want to think about tight end. What range do we actually want? So I'm going to pull up the tight end specific rankings over here. We're looking at that general range of like, Jonnu, Kelsey, Ingram, Mark Andrews, all that stuff. That's like mid 8th round. Although I guess this is set up for a 12-team league. So I probably should have been mentioning that earlier on or thinking about that more. I forgot that we were in a 10-team league right now. So that would be later, I guess. It would be a little bit later in our format. But basically not now. You wouldn't need to be attacking them now because you also just missed out on the other range. So we'll keep it in mind as we approach like the 10th round, I'll say. If we start to look at the board and like this general range of, again, Jonnu, Ingram, Kelsey, and Njoku, Andrews, they actually probably did a pretty good job at the tier there. If this general tier is kind of there in the double-digit rounds, that's when I think we'll attack. Right now, I think we'd be just kind of taking it too early. It's not going to do that. Obviously, not taking the second quarterback at this spot. Still some good wide receivers. Again, I kind of poo-pooed some of them, but like there's still quality wide receivers. The ones I would want to be drafting, Waddle, J-Mo, Hunter, Adunze, Shakir, Tet. And I would say there's probably a drop-off kind of after that. So those are the guys I would want, and we're going to get one of them for sure at the next round. So if we wanted to not take a wide receiver here, we'll definitely get one of them. That'd be our 4th wide receiver. Okay. Running back. Let me pull up the running back rankings real quick. I like Monty, but I don't really feel like handcuffing Gibbs. So I've talked a lot about kind of in previous Mock Draft Mondays about duos, right? Drafting 2 wide receivers, drafting 2 running backs, and kind of like capitalizing on a backfield and starting them both. I don't necessarily want to do that with like my 1st round pick, just because for Gibbs to work out for us, for taking him in the 1st round, we're going to want a really, really strong season, no missed games. We're going to want, a decent amount of touchdowns. Like we don't want Dave Montgomery to be like a reliable piece that I'm mixing into running back 2 or flex. And it's totally fine to take handcuffs. We're in the 7th round. I don't really want a pure handcuff in the 7th round. So you'd be assuming that David Montgomery would help you. So I think in a normal, like if I didn't take Gibbs, Montgomery would be totally fine to taking the spot. I think I don't want this duo in a way where I might want like Aaron Jones and Jordan Mason playing both of them and just taking all the Vikings points. I don't necessarily want to do that with my 1st round pick. It's a lot more capital. I'm cool taking that like average outcome a little bit later in the draft. If one of them is your 1st round pick, I don't love it unless it's a pure handcuff, like, later on. Like if you wanted to, take someone like the 13th, 14th, 15th round that you think's a handcuff, that's totally fine to do. In round 7, I kind of need this player to produce a little bit more than a handcuff. So I wouldn't go Montgomery. I don't know that he's even the top running back available. I think he is. He's not. It would be Henderson, but he's second. So definitely worth talking about there. But yeah, Henderson, Swift in this general range we would like. Aaron Jones we would like. Mason will like later. Caleb's okay. I don't really want to click his name. He's going to be a purely like early down running back. He's not going to have any reception, so I don't love that in full PPR. Warren. Okay. I think our build is better here taking Henderson. I know they've said that want to use Stevenson a little bit. Henderson's their guy. Explosive pass catcher. You're hoping that offense gets a little bit better. I think the Henderson pick is what we want to do in the spot. And again, we had all these guys available. So we took Henderson at what they're saying a slight reach because we knew that receiver was going to be available at our next spot. And I don't think we want to start off with 5 wide receivers and only 2 running backs. I think we wanted to build a little bit more, even since we weren't taking quarterback, weren't taking tight end. Take the top running back, ensure you get them. And then after that, take the top wide receiver, which again, I'll tell you guys the exact spots that these guys are ranked. I have Tet at 50th overall. We're at 74th. I have Travis Hunter at 54th overall. Again, we're at 74. After that, it's probably a Dunze. But in full PPR, Dunze actually falls off a little bit. I can't find him on the screen here. Where's Roma Dunze? Oh, 64th overall. So still all good picks, all good young players you want to be attacking. J-Mo also does fall off. He's 59 though. He falls off a little bit in full PPR because again, those guys that like Adunze, J-Mo, a little bit more downfield, a little bit higher yards per reception, maybe not as much of a reception total. It's full PPR. We want to be taking advantage of that. Tet, not saying he can't be used downfield, but he'll be someone that is a clear number 1 wide receiver on that team, is most targeted on that team, can really rack up receptions. He'd be the person that in full PPR you're going to benefit a little bit more, but I wouldn't fault anyone for wanting to go Travis Hunter at that spot. So we will take Ted McMillan and we'll move on. Okay. After we take that, we're in the 9th pick now. We're looking pretty good. Gibbs, Genty, Henderson, wide receivers, Hill, Rasheed, Devonta, and Tet. And then we've got Burrow quarterback. Again, no tight end. We're approaching that double-digit range for tight end. Still have not seen a tight end come off the board since we mentioned it before. It was all running backs, all wide receivers in the last round, an even mixture of 6 and 6 of each. Okay. So we're looking thin at running back. And only one player that I start off before at wide receiver is still there. That was kind of like a rough starring of players. We would still like, honestly, they actually have this pretty good. Shakir, Ridley, Myers are kind of at that top end. I like Downs. I like Pittman. I like Pearsall, Shaheed, but not as much in full PPR. We're starting to drop off after that. So there's like 6 wide receivers I can get on board with this pick. At running back, running back's looking a little gross right now. I like taking a shot on Cam because we know Cam's going to be a pass catching specialist, but also is like a bigger guy. He's got the thicker build. He can absolutely be a 3-down back. But yeah, Cam, Mason, Brian, those are 3. And you would probably go Brian, even though I have technically, that's actually a pretty big projection difference. So it's only 8 spots by ranking and only 1 spot by running back. Cam's running back 30 right now. Brian running back 31. But in terms of projection for full PPR scoring, 163.2 points for Cam Scadaboo, 150.8. So that's a clear teardrop from the 30th running back into the 31st in full PPR scoring. And then Mason, that actually makes sense too, because Mason, they've talked well about his, ability to not be a stone hands basically. But you obviously, like Aaron Jones is going to be the early down running back on that team. So Cam is pretty far and away the best running back, but he's not even close in like their ADP here. So it wouldn't make a ton of sense for us to draft him when we know we can get him at our next pick. So I would say take the top wide receiver. Top wide receiver is Ridley off the board. I like Shakir a lot. I think Shakir is a very stable piece. And I actually wouldn't hate going. So the reason you go with Shakir is that role early on is secure. Gave him a big contract. He's the best wide receiver on that team right now. What if like Rashid was actually suspended to start the year and I'm not comfortable starting Tet in week 1? You could actually get into a situation where I actually need this pick at wide receiver early in the season. The thing is, I also know that Ridley's their best wide receiver. I'm assuming the quarterback play is going to increase for the Titans. So wouldn't say I love him as a pick, but whenever it is that obviously I put the projections together. Whenever it is that a player you're not in love with still becomes the top player available in your rankings, take a step back and say, okay, I have factored in all of this negativity. I factored negativity for the Titans offense, for Ridley as a player, for the downside of this offense, this team, this target share, everything. I factored all of that in, and he is the top player in the rankings. So if I'm right, he's the top player in the rankings. If I'm wrong, he's an amazing pick. Whenever that occurs, I think that's the most important thing I can get across to you when you're using my rankings is sometimes when I talk negatively about a player, maybe they're in a top 5 players to avoid. I feel like Ridley was in some level of avoid list, or maybe a list of no ceiling. I don't know what it was. But whenever that occurs and they're still the top player in the rankings, understand that I have factored all of that in, and I'm saying even adjusting for that, they're the best pick at this spot. It should make you feel good when that happens, because if I am wrong, he's not only a good pick here, he's a phenomenal pick at this spot. So don't just see, Nick said avoid a player, I know they're top, I'm not going to draft him. Unless I literally say this is the worst pick in drafts, don't take them, which is just simply never the case. Pretty much always going to be the case that I don't like someone's ADP or their value or something like that. But if they fall far enough to be the top player in the rankings, still take them. It's totally fine to take them. Okay, so we take Calvin Ridley. We're feeling good about wide receiver. I would look back to running back at the spot. And now I would take Cam. Also, we only have 3 bench spots left. So there's no reason at this point in the draft, once you hit double digits, there's no real reason to play a huge ADP game. I'm not trying to get some insane value with these picks. I have 3 picks left on bench. I have 1 more pick left at tight end, 1 at defense. For me to be I'm trying to wait to get it as my second to last bench spot. It's just take your guys. At this point, take the people you want. You're going to be way more annoyed that you tried to get something else and then Cam Scatterboo went away and you didn't end up getting him. Now, I do want to make sure at tight end, we're not going to hit a run here. And that's part of my concern as to why I might not take Cam is that you've got the Bowers, McBride, and Kittle teams, but there are still 3 teams that are going to go by here, which is 6 total picks that do not have a tight end. And we are now in the range that we said we'd go back to tight end at. So I'm thinking we actually do maybe just attack the tight end position with this pick. Let me pull up the tight end ranking specific over here. I have Jonnu at 88, Kelsey at 90, Engram at 97, Mark Andrews at 102, Loveland at 111. 12-point difference between the first and the last tight end there. Between Jonnu, Kelsey, and Engram, there is a 7-point difference across the entire season, so a little less than half a point per game. Bring that up to try and think about what we'd rather risk here. I don't love the idea of taking Jonnu having Tyreek Hill. We're investing a little bit too much. I know it's the 10th round, but it's my wide receiver 1 and my tight end 1. On Underdog, slam dunk. 100% do that. In best ball, I'm placing a lot here on Tua not getting concussion. So he'd be an option, but I might lean the upside of Engram, Kelsey in full PPR. Honestly, I'd throw Njoku. I know he's not ranked. I mean, he was just ranked right after I stopped talking, but this whole range is similar. I actually do think I'd risk it because I'm not taking the top tight end. I want Engram at this pick. That's who I want. And my question is, do I just take it? But it's I actually don't have Engram. I haven't ranked at 97. I don't think he's going to be there is the issue. And is it even worth taking Cam? I feel like Cam's not. I think Cam's going to be there at the next pick. I think I go Ingram and then hope Cam is there, because if Cam's not there, I still have Gibbs, Genty, Henderson. I would like to get Cam, though. Also, for those of you seeing me draft a ton of rookies this season, the rookie running backs are insane. And it's going to be difficult for people to fully price in how good this class is, because we've seen a lot of classes where like maybe there's some elite options top end, but like they're not this deep. This is an unbelievably deep rookie class for running back. We're going to see a lot of these guys start to break out, or at least be super valuable in fantasy. But I think it's worth the risk. I'd be okay if Cam got taken. Okay, let's take Ingram. I think there was more risk. Okay, and I think that was the right play. So we take Ingram, Jonnu, Njoku, and Kelsey all go off the board. I think Ingram would have also been gone, and Cam is still there. Only 2 running backs went. I think that was the sharpest play we could have made. We will take Cam. Looks like Pearsall's still on the board, so we can pretty easily just take Pearsall, and we just fly through the rest of this draft. So I'll pull up the draft board here so that you guys can kind of see before it goes away on us at our last 2 picks. What happened after that? We took Ingram. Tight ends go, wide receivers go. That's great. We wanted Cam. We take him. Kind of a mixture of players go that we didn't necessarily even want. I'll say Pittman I wanted him. But then we just take Pearsall because I think, he could be a top wide receiver on this offense. And the offense for the 49ers, I don't remember if it's projected, I think like top 7. I can't remember, but it's projected to be one of the higher scoring offenses. A lot of points per game going to be scored there. Ayuk not starting the season healthy. Juwan's still good, but it's like there's a lot of opportunity with Debo gone. Ayuk not starting healthy. Who knows if McCaffrey can stay healthy this season? I think Pearsall is going to be really, really, really good this year, and getting him in round 12 is awesome. What's our count? So we have Hill, Rasheed, Devonta, Tet, Ridley, and Pearsall. We got 6 wide receivers: Gibbs, Genty, Henderson, Cam. We'll take a 5th running back. And then, of course, we got Burrow and Ingram. I really like this team. I think this team turned out very, very good. But take our highest upside running back. Theoretically, Benson has upside. If James Conner gets injured, that's going to be a pretty good team. A lot of dome games as well. Guerendo obviously has upside if McCaffrey got injured. Tootin could be a play there. I'm a little bit worried about the fumbling. Like, he had a ton of lost fumbles in college. Opens up camp, fumbles. Like that, I'm a little concerned. The upside is absolutely there. The skill level is there. You just gotta hold on to the football, dude. Doesn't look like there's anyone hidden. That would be amazing. Again, I've mentioned. Maybe he did go. Interesting. Unless he's just super tanked. Oh yeah, he's super tanked. Jaquez Hunter. So if you're ever doing drafts and like you need a last round pick, go there. But I would say these ones are better plays. Who do I have between Benson and Tootin? I don't have Guerendo at the top. I know people don't like my ranking on Guerendo. I'm just not fully 100% convinced he's a top guy, so I don't want to rank him as such. But I have Guerendo at 151, so it's not a terrible ranking there. I have Tootin at 127, so we're literally at 127 here. That would be fine to grab. As I say, Etienne's on board, right? He is the top player. It would be Benson after that. So it'd be take your pick there. I think I want to go with Benson just because, again, I'm a little concerned about this whole fumbling thing. Is that going to really hold him back from kind of breaking out this season? I don't know. We'll take the Eagles, but I haven't done defense research. And we will finish off this draft. I think it was a good one. I think we had a really good draft here. We get the tail end of Burrow at quarterback, kind of getting that tail end of the top quarterbacks. He pretty easily finishes the quarterback 1 this season. We get Ingram, who I think is still being undervalued this season. Very, very good reception upside if he plays a joker in that offense. I think this offense can be very, very strong. So love that duo. Having Gibbs and Genty is an unfair cheat code at running back. We're going to get so many touches, so many receptions, so much upside every week. Wide receiver is probably thinner, but I feel like we have enough players to kind of like keep up there. Tyreek Hill, Rashee Rice, Devonta Smith, Tet, Ridley, Pearsall. I think we're going to be totally fine there. And the backup running backs, Henderson, Cam, Benson. A lot of youth, a lot of upside on this team. So that's going to do it for this week's. I am not one of the top experts again. That'll do it What? Wait a minute. So they're saying that I think this team was bad. See, this doesn't even make sense to me. They think the Genty pick in my rankings is bad. But I have Genty ranked 10th overall, and we got him in the mid-second. So how could Genty be a bad pick in my rankings if my rankings literally say he was a top player on the board? Doesn't make sense to me. Also, my rankings say Tet was an amazing pick, so I don't know what math they're doing on that one. But anyways, that'll do it for this one. There'll be a video Wednesday, Friday, Saturday, and then, of course, next week's Mock Draft Monday. And the live stream. Come to the live stream tomorrow night, Tuesday, 6 p.m. Eastern for Underdog draft. I'll probably do 2 this week. Any questions, I'll try and answer all in that video. That'll do it for this one, though. Thank you all for watching. Leave a like if you watch this far. Subscribe to the channel if you are new here. I'll catch you guys in the next one.